Hi and welcome. My name is Roger, and I have been using FL Studio for many years. I also spent a great deal of time in the computer business, both as a programmer and as a manager. And even so, there were parts of FL Studio that I just couldn't understand what was going on in the developers' minds. So I put together this video because maybe you're having the same set of problems. Now, there are lots of great video how-tos out on the internet, in particular on YouTube, and I recommend that you go out and look at them, in particular to Michael's In the Mix, which tells you just about everything you want to know about making music and making beats and using all the various plugins and so on and so forth for FL Studio. But none of those helped me understand how it all fits together. And everyone starts with, well, you should just understand the playlist. So here we go. And the first thing you need to understand is that the playlist is where everything gets eventually rendered down into the particular song or other creation that you are generating. But how do we get stuff into the playlist? Well, let's start out with the digital side. And the digital side, we need three things. We need something that is going to convert a set of digital data into sounds. We need the digital data we want converted. And then we need to tell the computer when we want it to play that digital data. So let's take a step at a time. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to get a generator. And a generator is the program that converts digital data into audio outputs. And we're just going to pick this particular plugin called FruityDX, and we're going to load it up on channel 1. And we are going to now have a program to play digital data. Problem is we need some digital data, and that's where the piano roll comes in. And notice that the piano roll is hooked right now to FruityDX, and that I can now put notes in the piano roll. And I can make them different sizes, and I can do all sorts of stuff in the piano roll, right? Let's make this a little longer. Okay, so now we have our data, and we have our program to convert the data, but FL Studio doesn't know when to play that data. And that means that we have to go down here into the playlist and tell it that we want you to play this data through this plugin, through this generator at this time. And notice two things about the playlist. The first is that if I go over here, I can change the data, and the data changes over here. The second is right now, FL Studio is going to start playing this data on the very first beat of the very first measure. But it doesn't have to. I can move it around into various places, and in fact, I can play it several different times, or I can play it and have it overlapping, because whatever is down in here when these channels are turned on is what's going to eventually be the output that you're going to see on your master channel. Now, it's not my objective today to show you all the things you can do, but I would just point out that I can go over to this keyboard and I can tell it that instead of getting data from the playlist, I actually want to bring it in from a particular device. In this case, I'm bringing it in from a keyboard. Okay. And I can also come down here and click on this little record guy and come up here and say I want to record those notes, so that when I then start recording, it will record whatever the live performance is. There's great video on how to do that, so we're not going to go there. we're going to go to the second thing that really confused the living heck out of me, which is, well, what about audio, right? What happens when I want to hook up a microphone? And this, again, was very, very bizarre for me. Because I went out to my mixer, and I said, okay, here's my mixer, and I'm going to pick a source, and the source is going to be from my, now I'm going to put it on, but it's going to be from this headset microphone. And now I said, well, okay, I did that. But how come I don't have anything over in the channel rack? How come I don't have anything down in the playlist? And the answer is because so far I haven't created any input data for the playlist to play. And in order to do that, what I have to do is I have to come over here, and I'm just going to call this audio input. Okay. And I've marked it to record, and you can see that I'm driving it with my microphone on my head. And you'll notice nothing has happened over here in the channel rack, and nothing has happened down here in the playlist. But what happens when I arm this and I say, I want to record audio into the playlist as an audio clip? Okay? And the answer is, got ahead of myself there because it started, okay? The answer is that when I let this thing start, and I'm going to turn off loop recording, okay? When I let this thing start to record, it's going to create an input here in the channel list. And every time I record, it's going to create a new one. So here we go. So countdown, talk, 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 talk. You can see my talk is down here in the channel list, right? And you'll notice that because I haven't muted these channels, we're also playing back that crazy pattern that I created here. So we're just going to come up here to the mute button, and we're going to mute these guys so I don't have to worry about them. And now I'm going to record again. And here we go for a second recording. And we're going to record this, remembering that we want to mute the previous guy, right? And then we're going to record a third time. Oop. And now we're going to record a third time. And that should be good. Okay, so we turn this off. So now notice that we have all these audio inputs in our playlist, but they've also showed up here in the channel rack, okay? So until you create an audio clip, you will see nothing in the channel rack, all right? And now, let's say I want to play these all back on different channels. Well, now I can go over here and I can go, okay, make that on 2, and make that on 3, and make that on 4, and make that on 5. And when I now go back and I play them, right, you'll see that we're getting them on all different channels over here. Got to unmute these guys. All right, so brief pause. Now my objective is to keep this video really short. And so I'm just going to recap real quickly so that you remember what we did. On the digital side, remember we needed a program, which was a generator. We needed data, which we got from the piano roll. And then we needed to place that output down in the playlist so it would play. On the audio side, once we named an audio input source in the mixer, we were ready to go, but we didn't have any input data. And therefore, Nothing showed up in the channel rack, and nothing showed up in the playlist until we actually recorded something from that input source, analog input source, could have been voice, could have been an instrument, or whatever. And then each time we did a recording, it showed up in the channel rack and it showed up in the playlist. Now, I did a couple of other things which drive me nuts, like using the mute button and so on and so forth. But I'm not trying to reproduce the very high quality videos and instructions that you'll find out on YouTube. So again, I recommend you go out to Michael's site, In the Mix, on YouTube, and he'll show you how, now that you understand how this stuff all gets crunched together and end up in the playlist, to make some really great sounds. Thanks for watching, and hope you have a great day. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Fair winds and following seas.